My wife and I have been together for 12 years. 8 of them married, and we have a 6-year-old daughter. Here is how I found out about the affair. Honestly, I'm glad I came to know about the affair. I now feel numb and don't feel anything for my wife anymore, who was just using me for money. I guess I make thrice as much as she does. My only concern is my daughter. Here is how I came to know about it. For the last 5 months, I had been working like hell. Lots of overtime and weekend work to save money for her father, who was supposed to undergo an operation later next month. The stress from work and all made me irritated that day, and seeing my wife giggling while texting on the bed rather than chatting or asking me about how I was doing made me snap, and I grabbed her phone. Sadly, it was locked in the process. So I asked her for the password, to which she vehemently refused and told me I was going insane. I then asked again, or told her I would take the phone to her parents' home and get it unlocked somehow and read the contents in front of them. Her parents are very religious. If they knew she had an affair, they wouldn't even waste a breath in thinking about abandoning her, to which she stood silent and told me that she wanted out of the marriage. I still held on to the phone and told her if she told me the truth, I would not tell her parents, at which point she admitted that she had been having an affair for the past 2 months with a co-worker. I still asked her for the password and finally got it out of her and told her to go out of the room. I immediately locked the room and read the messages and found that it had been going on for about 4 months, twice as long as she had told me. She couldn't tell the truth. Even after getting caught, I connected the phone to my laptop and downloaded the entire chat history. I still don't know what made me do that, but I'm glad I did. I then invited her in and asked what she wanted to do now, and she told me she wanted to get divorced. So I told her to wait for a week and then decide again. I told her to think about our daughter, and that if she still wanted to get divorced, I would give her one, but I would take my daughter's custody with me. When I asked her the reason for her affair, she told me that I was not spending enough time with her and was more focused on work. To hell with that. The reason I had been working like a donkey and not having enough time even for myself was for her father's surgery. When I asked her why she hadn't told me about this earlier, that she wanted more time, she told me she didn't get the chance. I wonder how she couldn't say something when we were still eating breakfast and staying in the same house. When I asked her if she didn't know the reason why I was working all that time, she just stood silently as if it didn't even concern her. She had a "so what" kind of face yesterday. She told me she still wanted a divorce and wanted our daughter with her. I told her that was not going to happen, as I already saved all her chat history and would use it in court to gain custody. I made it clear to her that I would never leave my daughter. She was crying. I just left the room to go to my daughter's room. After that, I also told her to make her boyfriend fund her father's surgery, as I was not going to pay any. I stopped working overtime last week and started spending more time with my daughter. And honestly, I will still pay for the surgery with whatever I have saved up until now. I am an orphan and I love them like my own parents. But I just told her that in order to make her suffer at that point, she started saying sorry and begged me to pay for the surgery, and said that she would stop her affair and would work on the marriage. Honestly, I don't believe her anymore. This marriage will fall apart as soon as the surgery is done. I am thinking of going ahead with the divorce, but will take custody of the child. There's no need to pay alimony in state laws in case of an affair regarding child custody. I think I can gain proof of the affair, and also in exchange for the money for her father's surgery. My friends also believe I should go ahead with the divorce. My lawyer friend does too, and assured me of the custody. I want to know if I am doing the right thing by going ahead with the divorce. I'm mostly worried about how it would impact the daughter, and also how I should break it to her family. I don't want to lie to them. They are like parents to me. Update. I met my wife's parents today and told them about my decision to divorce and the situations that led to it. I'm glad I met them today, since at first they even refused to let me inside the house, since my wife told them that I was a philanderer and I was harassing her and my daughter. Thanks to her brother, who also lives with them, they allowed me a chance to tell them my side of the story. I gave them time to process this, and I'm waiting inside the guest room with my daughter and niece. We're taking a nap. Update. 2. I consulted a lawyer. He had assured me with proof of adultery and all I can get custody of my child and also no alimony and I get to keep everything I own. He also insisted on finding more details about the affair partner and hiring API for that, saying it might be of some help in the case and that it's better to be prepared. I agreed to it since he knows his work and he would be handling the PI too. He told me if they started by early next week, we could get a court hearing within 2 to 3 weeks' time. Hey, P.S. I think you're doing the right thing. She's cheating. She said she wants out of the marriage and only changed her mind when she realized the position she was in. I doubt that she would legitimately try to work on the marriage and would only act like that to get you to pay for the operation. I'd say leave it up to her to break it to her parents. That part isn't your responsibility. I would suggest also sitting the parents down and saying that due to what happened, you feel a little conflicted about paying for the surgery and that you need time to think about it. I only say this because depending on how they react, you will know if they would treat you as family without your money. I don't want you to pay for it and then them treat you differently because you are no longer married to their daughter. I wish you the best of luck with your situation. Now, let's get into today's second story. My wife and I have been together for 7 years and married for 4. We have a great marriage and 2 children. We were each other's one and only sexual partners. Last week, she ended up going home with a co-worker on Friday night lying and saying it was a work function specifically. She texted me around 7:30 that a work function suddenly came up and she had to go. I was a bit pissed since we planned to watch a movie at home and she cancelled without notice, but I saw no reason to mistrust her. She said she would be back by 9:30. I was okay with that. Then she ended up coming back at 11:30 in hysterics. She was crying and mumbling and admitted she slept with her co-worker. There was lots of anger and crying on my end and we spent the whole night discussing it. She said that her co-worker, a younger guy who had been flirting with her for weeks, very persistently. She did not tell me about this. Her reasoning being that it would have never led to something anyway and showered her with compliments, finally broke down her barriers and they had sex at his place 3 times in 2 hours. She said she felt like she missed out on something by only being with one sexual partner. So did I. I didn't cheat and wasn't thinking rationally. She said she got caught up in the moment for weeks, it seems, and she never planned to cheat on me. She said being treated like a sexy, desirable woman by a young, handsome guy only clouded her thinking further. I'm not so sure what she meant by this since we have plenty of sex at least 3 times a week as well as frequent date nights. I asked her to show me her phone, email and media right there and there was no sign of him at all. They never spoke outside of work. I thought she might be lying and covering her tracks, but I verified this in the following days and contacted my service provider and used a text recovery program and they never had any contact outside of work. My wife is saying it was a one-time mistake and will never happen again. She decided to quit work handed in her notice already and also outed the coworker due to the no fraternization policy and is searching for another job. She also promised to give me complete open access to all her media whenever I want and is pretty much begging me not to leave her. She has apologized and shed more tears than can be counted in numbers. I wanted to stay away from her for a while, but my kids need me. So I told her to give me my space in the house while I think things through. My wife wants to do couples counseling and therapy and wants to pay for it herself. So as not to burden me, she's taking full blame for the cheating and assures me I did not contribute to it at all. I never thought I would be the type to consider forgiving cheating. I always thought I would steel myself and go no contact without a second's hesitation. I'm trying to determine the pros and cons of this. Hey, to me, there are some actions that remorse just doesn't cover. It's not just about your marriage. She made the sober decision that she was perfectly willing to risk throwing her entire family life into flux just to feel hot and desired. She decided that her children's stable 2-parent upbringing was well worth that risk. And then the final knife to the heart is that she made that same sober decision 2 more times in a few hours. To me, that middle finger to my kids would be unforgivable. You do not owe her a second chance for forgiveness. She will never be worth it considering that she destroyed your family. I wish you the best of luck. Now, let's get into today's final story. Hello, community. This is the first time I've used a forum for this situation. In fact, this is the first time I've used Reddit at all. I came on here to find a sense of community. I guess I have been struggling with my wife's infidelity for over a year now. I don't want to bring it up with friends or family because I don't want to wear anyone out. I have been looking for a place where I can discuss the problems with people who have experienced similar situations and share them with people in a way that won't come across as pathetic. So thanks for welcoming me to your community. I hope to find some value in my life and to contribute some quality to someone else's life. Here is the background. I am 28 years old and have been married to this woman for 7 years. We have a child who is 5 years old now. I love and adore my child with all my heart, and a part of me still loves my wife. On Memorial Day of 2019, I had to work, but my wife had the day off. We had spent the evening before on a date. We went to the bar, had a few drinks, talked, walked and had sex. Things seemed great. I went to work the following day. Memorial Day. My daughter was at my in-laws because she had spent the night. So my wife and I could go on a date the night before. When I came home, my wife had gone shopping, picked the kid up and purchased a new car seat for her. We got home late and put the kid to bed. My wife went outside after the kid was in bed to smoke. I sat on the couch because I don't smoke. She came in, we got ready for bed. And when we got into bed, she said we needed to talk. She told me she kissed someone that day. She hung out with a guy she knew and they made out in addition to making out with him. She was in love with her friend's husband. She claimed she and her friend's husband hadn't had any physical connection, swore that she never did and still says she didn't. Although I assume that is a lie. She said she was going to live with her parents for a while. We talked all night. The next day she went to a pro-planned concert with a friend. She saw the guy she kissed again and ended up spending the night with him. I was destroyed. I felt so utterly horrible about myself. She ended up moving out and living with her parents. She stayed there for about 7 weeks while she continued to see this guy, but bounced back and forth between 1, making things up for her family, and 2, wanting to be single. This party went on with ups and downs, sex and no sex for 7 weeks. Until this time, last year, I got fed up one night. She was supposed to come over while I was at a baseball game with my daughter. She was supposed to get what she wanted and stick her what she couldn't get so I could set it up for her to pick it up. When I got home, she hadn't been by. I called to ask her why not. She said it was because it was hard. I lost it. I told her I didn't give a crap if it was hard, that I didn't care what was hard for her or for the stuff she was involved with. I told her to come over the next day and stick her what she wanted, or I was putting it in the trash and keeping what I wanted. I left the divorce papers on the coffee table for her to find when she did come over. She came over and stickered her crap. But the mood changed. She all of a sudden wanted to work on things. Things progressed a few more bumps with this guy and her giving him some stuff of his through the mail and cutting off correspondence. She started seeing her own therapist and we started marriage counseling. We did well for the first 8 or 9 months. I was honestly happy to have my family and her back. We spent time talking. She told me about a total of 4 guys with whom she had some form of inappropriate relationship throughout our marriage. Not all physical, but still spending time with them when I was working and talking with them at the minimum. I said I was happy for her to be clean and that I wanted to try anyway. But now things are getting rocky. We are a year away from D-Day and I find myself going back and forth about what I want to do. Things have been really hard lately. Our sex has slowed down. We aren't dating as much and the lack of trust is kind of getting to me. She rarely initiates texting or calls. I have been the one to initiate sex for the past month or so. I don't know, it just doesn't feel right. It doesn't feel good. I have been thinking about what I want in my life and I kind of think I might be holding on because she is meeting some of my needs. But I don't think she is capable of meeting the more important ones. I feel like the lack of trust and her lack of respect are major problems. It is something I don't know that I can get over as of late. Her sex is good, but when I'm not getting that, I don't want to be in this relationship. I keep thinking about what I want in my future, and I have realized that I don't necessarily see her as an essential part of it. I feel like if I were to be able to put this behind me with or without her, I could focus on what I need to focus on for my success. I feel like the worry of things going wrong every single day, the fear and her inability to talk about the issue or initiative in helping our relationship are just exhausting me and removing me from what I know I have the potential to be. I have been thinking about what I want in my life, and I think I might be holding on because she is meeting some of my needs, but I don't think she is capable of meeting the more important ones. I don't worry that I'll be alone forever. Last month, I joined Tinder and Bumble and met a few girls. I set up a date with a beautiful girl and was texting a couple more when the night came for the date. However, I decided I couldn't follow through. I cancelled and deleted all the numbers and the apps. I have been wondering why I feel like I need confirmation. I think there are some needs not being met in my relationship. So the bad in that was that I came close to being a jerk and cheating on her. But it also showed me that I would be okay if she wasn't here as far as my physical needs. But I'm worried about my kid. I am worried about who my wife will bring around. How will this affect my child? Even with all of this being said, I would still miss my wife, but I almost feel like she is better friends with benefits material for me. That all comes from the lack of trust, communication and enthusiasm. Hey, your wife doesn't respect you, and you can't trust someone that doesn't respect you because their desires will always be more important to her than you. You should demote her from wife to friends with benefits at best and go through with the divorce, since you still have to deal with her for the child. But you're probably best to just co-parent and move on with your life. If you haven't had an STD test, you should get one too. You might want to consider a paternity test as well. I wish you the best of luck. Thank you.